Welcome back to another video, and today I want to give you guys a good update on the dollar index, Usdcad, Eurusd, Gbpusd, Usdchf, as well as Audusd from a technical perspective. Now, the only high impact news that we have coming through this week is the PMI, which is the Purchasing Managing Index, and that is going to obviously maybe affect the dollar in some cases, but the most important news is coming through next week, which is the interest rate decision, consumer sentiment, and which is basically going to complete this correction on the dollar index before the high impact news then starts moving the dollar even higher. Now, if you're new here, the sub would be appreciated as I provide valuable educational content on a daily basis. And if you enjoy the video, please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and it helps the channel out there as well. Now, on the monthly time frame, if you remembered last week, I said that we can expect all of the reasons why we can expect the market to obviously continue that move to the downside. We also have this market broken above this very strong level of resistance. Once the resistance get broken, it becomes support. Now, all of this resistance over here is now acting as a strong level of support. Now, we could potentially see the market come back and test this level before that continuation to the upside. Again, like I said, we've got 2 weeks for the market to still correct itself to the downside before we see that continuation to the upside there as well. And this looks like a 78.6 pullback, because if you take your Fibonacci from the high to the low of this impulse, you can see we do have the 0.786 lining up perfectly with the structure, giving us a further confirmation that we can expect the dollar index to get weak in the short term before any continuation to the upside. From a weekly perspective, what do we see? Here on the weekly time frame, we got similar price action. We can see this level over here acted as a level of resistance multiple times, again giving us a further confirmation. It seems like the market had pulled back past the 0.382, and if you take the Fibonacci from the low to the high, we can see we are currently testing the 0.50, but again we could potentially see the market come and hit the 61.8. that's lining up perfectly with that previous level of resistance there, taking that week into consideration as well. Now, on the daily time frame, what do we have? Now, from a daily perspective, we can see the market is currently trading at this strong level of support, and if this support does not hold, you can expect all of that support to be turned resistance. And once this level has been broken, we can even expect the dollar index to increase slightly in value, and then all of that resistance, all of that support that is currently broken would then be acting as resistance. And then on the retest, if you do trade the dollar index as a standalone, would be then acting as a level of resistance, and you can then start looking for that continuation to the downside there as well. Next up, we do have Usdcad, and starting on the monthly time frame, what do we see? Now, the Usdcad had basically been at this level for the third month in a row now. Now, if you look at this year, you can see this level over here acted as a strong level of support. Support got broken. The market's now testing it as resistance. Once again, the market also broken above this strong level of resistance over here. Broken above that, we can expect the market to pull back there and then get that potential continuation to the upside. Now, here on the weekly time frame, what do we see? Now, from a weekly perspective, we've got a contradiction between the monthly and the weekly. Why? Because we know on the weekly, on the monthly, there's further continuation to the downside expected. On the weekly, we are currently testing strong level of support that is now acting as a level of resistance there as well. But we do expect the market to continue lower, and we are going to use this as our confluence, or as our target for the move to the downside, for the market to potentially continue this weekly consolidation phase that it had started, as we can see over here as well. On the daily time frame, what do we see? Now, from a daily perspective, the market is currently testing the strong level of support. Now, what we do want to see is we do want to get a clear break below this level of support, and once support gets broken, it becomes resistance. And then on the retest of resistance, we're definitely going to continue this move to the downside for the market to hit that previous level of support in the market over here as well. And in that way, the dollar index would have corrected itself potentially back to the 78.6 is identified from a monthly perspective. Now, Euro USD I've spoken about as well. Now, the market has currently tested a very strong structural level over here. This level has been tested for the first time. Now, this level over here acted as a strong level of resistance. Market came back to test it as support for the first time. This market also broke below a very strong level of support, and once support gets broken, it becomes resistance. Now, we can definitely expect the market to continue higher before that continuation to the downside there as well. Now, from a weekly perspective, what do we see? Now, here we can see the market printed an overextended information. After an overextended information, you expect a pullback to the left leg before that continuation to the downside, giving us a further confirmation that we can expect the market to continue higher. There on the daily time frame, what do we have now? From a daily perspective, the market has just broken above the strong level of resistance. Now the best way to approach this is just to wait for the market to pull back, because once resistance gets broken, it then becomes support. We also had that massive impulse. So after an impulse, you expect a correction. Then the best way to measure that correction is by taking your Fibonacci from the low to the high of this massive impulse. Then you can see how we do have the 0.382 that's also lining up perfectly with this previous level of resistance that is now acting as a level of support there as well. Next up, we do have Gbpusd. Starting on the monthly time frame, we can see the market is testing strong level of support. Now after level of support gets created, you definitely expect the market to slightly pull back. The market had also printed this very important level over here. This level over here acted as a strong level of support. Once support gets broken, it becomes resistance in the market as well, giving us a confirmation that we can expect that further move to the upside there as well. You can also see how the market printed this very important level over here as well. Now this level over here acted as a level of support, and once again support gets broken, it then becomes resistance. We can definitely expect the market to continue higher before potentially seeing a decline to the downside there as well. Now on the daily time frame, what do we see? Firstly, we can see how the market printed this W formation. After a W formation, you expect a pullback to the neckline before that continuation to the upside, giving us a further confirmation that we can definitely expect the market to continue lower before continuing higher. Now there's two ways that we can approach the situation. Now it all depends on where the daily closes today. There's a strong possibility that we can get the pullback in the market over here before that continuation to the upside, just because if you look left over here, you can also see how the market had printed this very important structs over here as well. Now we are going to use that as a further confluence in the market for us also, but we have this massive impulse. After an impulse, you expect a correction, and if you take your Fibonacci from the low to the high, you can see we've got a 61.8 level lining up perfectly with that neckline of the W formation. We also have the strong level of support that got broken, that is resistance got broken. All of that resistance is now acting as support, and not only the neckline of the W formation. The best way to approach this would be to wait for the market to pull back before looking for that continuation to the upside. Alternatively, the market could also print an overextended W formation. After overextended W formation, you expect to pull back to the right leg, to the left leg, before that continuation to the upside. If we do get a daily close above this level, then we can expect the market to continue slightly higher pullback and then continue higher as well as an alternative for us also. Now, yeah, USDCHF, we can see USDCHF has also found very strong level of resistance over here. This market over here acted as a level of support multiple times, acting as now testing it as a resistance. Now this market has got the potential of probably coming down to that level over there before that continuation to the upside, as we expect the market to take it. Now here on the weekly time frame, what do we see? From a weekly perspective, this is the next line of interest. Sorry about that, my good friends. This is the next line of interest over here that we can expect the market to pull back to. I can see the market had potentially start this consolidation phase here as well. So there's definitely a selling opportunity for the market to go and continue lower and get that previous level of support. Now here on the daily time frame, what do we have? Now the market had currently broken below this very important structure. Now it's very easy to not very easy, but the best way to approach this is to wait for the market to pull back to at least the 0.382 Fibonacci level over there. If you take your Fibonacci from the low to the high, you probably get a 50% pullback before that continuation to the downside. Alternatively, if this market just melts to the downside, I would give you guys an update again on that. Next up, we do have AUD/USD. Also, if you look on the monthly time frame, the market had broken below a very important structure. The market is now currently pulling back, so we can definitely expect that continuation to the upside for the market to go and hit that previous level of support that is now turned resistance from weekly perspective. What do we say? Now from a weekly perspective, we do have the potential of the market completing this W formation. Now you can see how the market printed this left leg over here. Now this is the W formation that I'm speaking about. We can expect the market to continue higher before that continuation to the downside. However, the market is currently testing previous weekly support that is now acting as resistance, potentially signaling to us that we can get a pullback before that continuation to the upside there as well. Now on the daily time time frame, what do we see? Now, from a daily perspective, there is a lot of prices, a lot of stuff going on over here. So we're going to rely on the most recent and very strong structure over here. This level over here acted as support, resistance. All of that resistance now getting broken, and it will be acting as a level of support. The market's also now testing previous strong resistance, giving us a further indication that we can expect a slight pullback before we can get that continuation to the upside on the AUD, the USD. And that's all from my side. Thank you for your time. And as always, cheers for years.